Does anyone have a marker? Oh yeah, Fastforecast is coming in, so
Independent Miners Guild Drake Caterpillar. This is IMS bookmark. Request permission to dock.
this is IMG Transport 57. Give us a second, we got a short situation here. Could I please get rid of that now? Shooter. Johnny.
Yes, we are getting rid of it.
Please confirm that you are firing on a...
Everything is in perfect order, don't worry. You're clear to land on Bay 3. Hangar is open.
IMS bookmark confirms. Hangar open. Docking immediately. We don't think the wings are going to fit.
You might
I was
just
told it
roll
would fit.
it.
It shall be fine.
Or break
If you cut the engines, it should stand there, and you can leave the ship. You just won't jump.
I could hear the sound of engines of that Razor from here. That distinct sound.
Welcome aboard.
We appreciate it. We haven't done one of these aboard a Caterpillar before, usually due to safety concerns.
Well, as long as you don't plan on giving up your ship, you don't need any escape pods. So, follow us to the mess hall, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yes. Mess hall is this way.
Well, I see. Well,
so, gentlemen, would you like to get started?
Of course.
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Fastforecast coming to you today from aboard a Drake Caterpillar. We know, please hold your applause, Drake actually has something that's currently flying in the black. We will start this, as we always do, by introducing our captain and his organization. So, sir, if you would, introduce yourself, your organization, and your position in the organization, and then your co-pilot, we believe.
That will be cleared up in a second. Hello everyone, I am Clyde Schuster of the Independent Miners Guild, and depending on the hat I wear at any given moment, I'm either a guardian, or the guardian of the IMG, or one of 6 equal guild masters. And which lets me pivot to my friend over here.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Michael Richard of Independent Miners Guild. I'm also one of the equal guild masters. So I believe this makes the situation a bit more clear for you all.
Well, usually we go into how the organization formed, but you're a guild. So if you could go into that a little bit more before we go into the nuts and bolts.
Well, sure. The Independent Miners Guild has formed actually several hundred years ago, when, well, when the UE left Magnus 2, well, again. And, well, there have been situations with Shubin Interstellar and all, and I don't want to go into the nice details, which have been cleared up by now. But that's when several, well, hundreds of miners banded together to form the Independent Miners Guild, because that's what we started from and that's what we still are, independent miners, each of us. However, we band together in order to accomplish greater goals, in order to be safer, in order to achieve what we couldn't achieve as a single individual. And that's where our idea of equality comes from. And, well, that's where our spirit comes from, because also we've been out in the fringes of space for like 100 years or so.
More like 200 years by now, close to.
Yeah, true.
So,
But I mean,
when,
since the Mesa regime has been cast away, we are well, operating in UE space again as well.
so when you say you're a guild, what you mean is every person as an individual is basically their own independent sovereign?
True. However, of course, we have a structure. For example, the guild masters are elected, and well, the guardian as well, though for lifetime. Yes. However, we also have a court for disputes and these kind of things. So yes, everyone can, in theory, do what they want, as long as what they do doesn't fall back to the guild. For example, as long as it doesn't threaten our independence, as long as it doesn't threaten our neutrality in particular. Yeah, well, and as long as it's not in combat. In combat, we are pretty disciplined and pretty strict, actually. But that's a totally different topic, and I think totally understandable, because discipline is the essence of defending oneself.
You mentioned, again, we usually have a series of questions, but with
Sure.
this being free flow, it tends to follow the path where you make statements and we, of course, follow that. You mentioned guardians. Could you go into this a little bit more? Because you mentioned it twice now, and it sounds kind of interesting, especially with guilds having guild masters that are democratically elected. But you mentioned this guardian that is a lifetime appointment.
Yeah, the job of the guardian is actually to make. It doesn't have any power per se. The guardian is actually just has a blocker function to make sure the guild doesn't veer from its core principles. That's all.
And what would these core principles be?
Well, like I said, equality. It's rather a feeling, you know. Then our frontier spirit. We don't want to be corporate. We don't want to be exploiting our members.
Hey, wake up.
So everybody in the IMG gets the same cut, for example. We do not want to go into, well, certain fields that, you know, it's just not us. It's difficult to explain, just out of the nowhere.
Okay, well,
There.
we'll
Yeah.
circle back to that in a moment. Perhaps it'll answer itself momentarily. How did the Independent Mining Guild form?
Independent miners good. Because we're miners and independent. Anyhow, well, give me a second. I'll open up wait a second, our history document for you. Go. A little bit embarrassing there, but I'm not a guy for numbers, you know.
I'm not exactly the guy for numbers either. That would rather be Jack Skalski, or Jack Henderson, but they are not around here.
Yep, indeed. However, when the jump points will be back up, they probably will be joining us again. Well, most certainly, which is also actually the reason I've got to wear two hats at the moment, but that's a different story. You may be familiar with the fact that, like I said, Magnus II was colonized, then left alone again, then colonized again by mining corporations, and then left alone again, like Arcop and Shubin Interstellar were the last ones to, well, colonize Magnus II, and left it in 2775 when the situation again spiraled out of control. Back then, several, well, disgruntled Shubin miners and others took equipment, mining equipment, and others like factories picked them apart and whatnot to equip themselves and work on their for their own profit. There have been several factions back then, and yeah, go ahead.
You see, those miners weren't really that fond of Shubin and Arcor due to exploitative nature, and the idea of equality and frontier spirit came to play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our forebearers took that equipment, did their own stuff, and well, although Shubin and Arcorp abandoned their equipment at the time, as soon as someone took it and wanted to make their living with it, they suddenly came back and wanted to grab it again. And well, the origins, there were 3 factions back then. They were hunted and persecuted by corporate militia. However, being spread out and all, and operating decentralized, they were able to prevail. And already in 2776, the IMG founded itself as a body, and it lasted until 2779, until the then Independent Miners Guild did a last push and grabbed everything they could, loaded in transports, and left the UAE space off to Levski. There we found a home for quite a while, and after a short while actually participated in the security there. And well, already on Magnus we learned that we have to do things if we want them to change them. You know, we actually have to do things ourselves. Nobody comes to us like in the frontier out there in Nick's system or in Magnus. Nobody comes to you, and when you call for help, you know, either you bring your own security, well, like you can see here, either you bring your own guns, or there won't be any UAE coming to help you. So
we have to look out for ourselves.
Exactly. Either you learn that or you perish.
So your organization also provides its own security, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Definitely, yes.
Space is dangerous. In that dangerous space, no one hears your screams, so you have to, you know, not scream and make the other guy scream before you.
True story.
Interesting. With y'all being out here, there are many, and it's growing every day because someone with a hand miner believes that they're a miner. What happens when y'all come across another organization that decides that they're going to stake a claim right where you're working?
Give me a second. This is Clyde for Johnny. Johnny, could you please, what you're doing there? Are you evading any asteroids out there?
No, I'm not doing anything.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I just turned around like 3 minutes ago and accelerated a bit, but nothing special.
Would you mind? I mean, we've got guests. Would you mind keeping a steady course because we're shaking around down here a little bit?
Roger that.
Thanks a lot.
Maybe consider stopping.
Oh well, doesn't matter.
We don't have windows.
Gotta go somewhere. Yeah, we'll manage. Anyhow, your question was, what happens when we come along across another mining guild? Well, that very much depends how they treat us. I mean, we're not hostile. We try to be neutral to everybody. We try to be friends with everybody if possible, and try to do business with everyone. I mean, just because we're living in the frontier doesn't mean we're cutthroats or anything. However, if anybody crosses us, tries to mine on our claim, well, that's a different story.
If someone does try to break into your claim, you have the ability and desire to defend said claim.
Of course.
Yes, surely.
The independence comes with such costs.
Right.
Well,
You
we
have to be
noticed
able
on
to
our
defend yourself.
we did notice on our way in the anti-air vehicles in addition to the rock miner.
Yes, for example.
Indeed, have
And
its
we are
uses.
quite capable and willing to use any means necessary to hold our ground. Or
Well, you mentioned team members on the other side of the jump gate. When the gate collapsed, was that a big issue for you and your team, or how did y'all handle it?
Well, you see, I'd over there mentioned that we were and are decentralized. So in case of catastrophic event, such as this, if you would like to classify it as that, IMG is quite capable of doing with what they got. Whoever is on this side and whoever is on the other side.
So being independent, you just fill in the blanks as needed, because although you have a hierarchy, it's every person is whatever they need to be.
indeed. We're all trained in ground as well as base combat, and we're practically most of us are equally able to mine in space, ground, wherever. So yes, we are quite comfortable. I mean, of course, we had to purchase some equipment here, which has been lost in transit, and I hope that we might be able to recover it from Pyro when the jump gates get up again. However, well, I mean, there's banks for that, right? IMG has got quite considerable funds to, well, make do in such times. As you can imagine, being a miner doesn't, well, actually usually means you're not quite poor, if you understand my meaning. So, yeah.
Well,
We do.
You know, when you are mining, you are bringing the very first level of the economy in trading, and there's always demand for that.
So with the war continuing on far longer than anyone else thought it would, do you see a more increase for the materials you mine, or is demand staying static?
Well,
Stanton is not exactly in the center of the war. I'm assuming you are talking about the Vandul War. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, you see, while we are doing business with UAE, I mean, that's why we are in Stanton, we obviously aren't in the center line of the war efforts, and as a result, in Stanton, demands are rather static compared to pre-war levels.
yeah. Also, I would have to look in the books because I think that war is already, well, I mean, yes, there has been a declaration of war, but to be fair, I mean, as we've now learned from history, it has already started quite a while ago. I mean, if you consider us being attacked, so I wouldn't say I couldn't lay my finger on a spike in demand. So, but yeah.
That Vandal War is going for almost as long as we are founded, if I'm right.
Well, yeah, from their side, I would say, yeah.
Well, we do know that, especially for miners, time is money. So we're going to get to every organization wants to grow.
True.
We're going to assume that y'all want to as well. What do y'all look for in recruits to bring into your guild?
Well, they have to fit into the family, quite frankly. Oops. Because, I mean, there's no point in, well, bringing someone up, like teaching them and whatnot, bring them into your fold. If they don't fit, you know what I mean? If they are something like by heart a corporate slave and just want to be poked around, you know, just want to be pushed here and there, that's not us. I mean, the guy would probably feel good here, but it wouldn't work out. You see what I mean? Or if somebody is well, real cutthroat. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're dealing with really like well, everybody who deals with us basically and doesn't cross us. But I mean, we got certain, well, I wouldn't say standards, but we value the human rights in general. I mean, we've been on the short end of the stick for quite a while, so we got quite a good well, empathy for those who do have the short stick. So we deal with everybody who somewhat respects the human rights at least. Well, some of these people might have an issue with the UEE, but as long as we can keep our berth, that we don't. So we got a pretty wide berth on that. However, what we do require in a recruit is they don't have to be an ace or a hotshot or whatnot. However, they do need to be disciplined under fire, because fire often comes our way. So they have to be able to carry in themselves in it and maybe follow some crazy, seemingly crazy orders, you know. But that can be learned. So we're quite confident with that. And like I said, they should bring a good sense for fairness and equality. So basically what we've been talking about.
So would you say that there is a testing period to see how they gel with the rest of the guild?
Well, that happens naturally. So there's no real testing period, but we are not afraid of telling anybody, yeah, it might not work out.
Okay. Well, do you offer training to these to some pilots who may not be skilled in mining or even self-defense? This might be their first go in Stanton, you know, from even old Terra.
Yep, sure, go ahead.
As Terrans ourselves, we of course know how it can feel going into space the first time, and we do offer training. I mean, IMG's one of the core principles, as we say it, is the ability to self-defense. So we obviously train the members for when the inevitable arrives.
Yeah. And also we train with the Tower Alliance, if you have heard of that, maybe?
We've heard it mentioned a few times. We haven't had a chance to sit down like this to have a discussion yet, but we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Well, you might see us again then. We are part of the Tower Alliance, which is an alliance of frontier-spirited factions like ourselves. Got a strong focus on our common economical welfare. Of course, we do stand in for each other's when we're attacked. I mean, how could you imagine differently? However, we don't interfere in the internal workings of the other factions. So yeah, we train with the Tower Alliance and it's quite beneficial. I mean, our own training is more rigorous, but well, that's probably true for most other people. I mean, compared
correct
to us.
Correct us if we're wrong. You said that in general the split is fairly even when y'all go out mining and such. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we subtract the costs of a operation, then we add the bigger ships and everyone participating. So, and then we split it. So basically, everyone gets a share of the profit. Plus every ship counts, like every ship that's bigger than size 2 core, you know, like those things got upkeeps and maybe crew externals running there.
It would be fair to say the ship is a partner as well, and they get a cut. The ship has a cut itself.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, the ship has to have a cut if it has such upkeep that it necessitates, you know, having a budget for the ship to keep it afloat.
We've heard from several organizations that run the larger ships that the ship is a crew member and they have a ship cut as well.
Yes.
So that seems to be a running thing.
Oh, that's nice.
Indeed.
Well, how would someone sign up to be in the guild?
Well, that's actually pretty easy. You, you open your Moby Glass, you Google StarCitizen Mining Guild, and you click on the first link. Or you Google for StarCitizen IMGd, like India Mike Golf Delta. And up there in the top right, you see Join Us Now. And there you click on it, and then you read what it says.
Would you be listed under Spectrum as well?
Yes, we will.
Excellent. So, what would your future goals be as an organization?
Well, our goal actually from the get-go has been to enable our members to... Oh, I'm sorry, I got this... One of the servos in my armor seems to be acting up. Well, right from the get-go, our idea was to afford a living for our members. I mean, that's been the reason why the people have been out there in Magnus mining, and that's somewhat still the idea. We make money to do the things we actually like doing in the verse. Like, maybe some people like sitting in a spa or, having fancy drinks and whatnot. Others like racing around the asteroid fields with their racer. I mean,
Or
you got
win the
one
Moray
yourself.
Cup.
Or that. So, yeah, our idea is making money for ourselves, having a living for ourselves, and actually having fun with nice people doing so.
Fair enough. And this is the final portion. This is pretty much you get to speak to our audience. Every organization, large or small, law-abiding or not, have supporters and detractors. If you could speak directly to your supporters, what would you say?
Well, I would say, hey guys, it's awesome you're with us. Yeah, come over, join us, have a beer with us. Yeah, meet us in the bar at Levski.
You already had a beer with us in the past. Well, have another one.
Yeah, all right, true.
Fair enough. And of course, detractors, who say mining's easy. What you do is cake. Dig a hole, miner. Shut up. So,
well,
what would you say to your detractors?
You say we do not concern ourselves with the detractors.
Yep. That's all you can say to that. Actually, we don't care. So, yeah, sure. They see mining that way. Okay, let them do it their way. We don't care.
We do it the IMG way.
That amazingly seems to be most organizations' point of view is we really don't care. So it's refreshing that no matter what the organization is, lawful or not, it's whatever. So that's always amusing.
Yeah, well, space is big enough. I mean, there's no reason to concern yourself with people that don't like you. I mean, just jump a light year away or whatnot, and so.
Well, gentlemen, we really appreciate you bringing us on board, even if your lights are having conniption fits. It's a Drake. We're not going to hold it against you. So we appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, check out this guild. They're amazing, and they were hospitable enough to bring us on board despite being in the middle of a mine. So check them out. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been your Fastforecast coming to you from the middle of a Drake caterpillar. So from all of us here at Fastforecast, we wish you a very good night.
And thanks for being with us.